Right, so welcome back to what I'm pretty sure is episode 7 now. So last episode we got so far, we managed to find, well, we got the indicators working. We managed to trace down a few of the faults and sort out the relay for the rear heated windscreen and such. But now we've still got the issue where the hazards don't work, but the indicators do work. We've got no blower motor. But I'm hoping this Haynes manual that's in the car is going to provide us some second information, if it's correct for this car. Work out in a minute. So, sorry, hopefully the quality is a bit better now as well. I've got some extra upgrades and some more lights to see if this works out or not. GoPros aren't very good in the dark, as I've found out. Not great, but shit happens. So, on the hazard front, I'm going to have a quick peek through this diagram now and trace what should go where and where I should be getting power. There can't be anything too wrong. We know it's not the switch. I know I've got some power there. So and the relay's perfect, so there can't be much wrong. The chance that there could be a broken cable in the loom, or there's something here just a bit of a miss. So I'm going to have a quick peek through this, get the fault found with any luck, and then I'll bring you back in a minute. Another development, I just tried the hazards and it started working. So this is odd. So I had to fiddle around the cables and yeah, they stopped working. So the chance of us having a loose connection somewhere else or a broken cable in the loom is very likely. I've got the exact same issue with my Capri. I haven't bothered to fix it in 4 years yet, but we'll get there one day. So if I go to put the hazard light switch in, I'm now getting... Oh, just now it's going full spaz mode. Oh, let's try and get this. Yeah, now it's just doing what it wants. Go mental. So that would indicate we've definitely got some kind of dodgy connection back here somewhere. I give it a bit of a twist or a wiggle. Nope. So it did work for a few seconds. So I'm going to dive in under dash and we'll see what we got there. Right, so testing back the old-fashioned way again, using a test lamp. What we've determined here is the wiring from the hazard light switch back to the relay is actually fine. So, where is it in a minute? So, we got our cable back to our relay, which is working spot on. We've got a permanent live here on the black. These are permanent, let's just check a minute. No, that's a switch live on the black. So, switch live on the black. That still goes spaz. Okay, so we know that at least a couple of our conductors here are fine. So I'm going to trace the rest of them now and see. There's a 3-pin multi-plug here, and it looks like there might be another one in line as well between that and the relay, which I'm making my suspicions, because when you press it, you get that weird, goes mental, like, and the hazard switches go mental, and the relay. That's giving me the impression that the loading isn't correct. So, potential dodgy connection between the switch and the indicators, which pass through this 3-pin multi-plug here shown. I can't see it under dash, so I'm going to do a bit more exploring and see what happens. So, testing the conductors to the hazard light switch here, we've got the red conductor, which should be a permanent live. According to Haynes manual, from fuse number 1 on the fuse box. Now, we've got 12 up there, which is the same as what we had when I was testing the heater relay and the blower motor power. But as soon as I put a load on it, we drop down to 0 volts again. So potentially this hazard issue is just because, well, might be or might not be, due to this other power issue I've got, which some general area I've got a dodgy connection somewhere. Best dig into it a minute. Hope there's another burnt out connector somewhere, or just a broken cable, but we'll find out in a minute. Right, so I'm just going to go investigate fuse number 1, and here we go on the multimeter. So fuse 1 is the red one here. Put it on there. We've got 12 volts. Go down to the other side. We've got 12 volts. So I don't assume that means it's okay. Just we've got 12 volts. A bare under no load doesn't mean we've got power. So if we grab our little test light again here, on the incoming side of a fuse, on the battery there, the light works. Put it on the other side of the fuse, which also had 12 volts as well, nothing. Nothing at all. Completely dead. If we scratch a bit into the fuse here, we have got something. So, this tells us that we've got a poor connection somewhere along the lines here, and it's not going to be this side of the fuse, down this end. So let's strip that one apart a minute and see what we find. So after cleaning up the connection, we've now got a light on that side as well. So that turned out to be a lot easier than expected. So it simply was just a high resistance joint, where we had 12 volts on the supply side and 12 volts on the load side of the fuse, but as soon as we put it under load, the voltage dropped off to none. Simply because how do I explain it? So the resistance was quite high, and with no load, there was no voltage drop. So you'd see 12 volts. As soon as you put any kind of load on it, then the voltage couldn't overcome the resistance, and you had no voltage. Hence why, if you went around with multimeter and you're testing things, you would think, oh yeah, this is fine, it's fine, it's fine, when it's not fine. And it can really throw you out. So by using that little test lamp, then it was an easy way of determining where we actually had power. So that is now fixed the hazards. It was as simple as that. Worked perfect. No dodgy cables back here. They work fine. By wiggling the cables out, I must have just somehow wiggled enough vibration just to wiggle the fuse a tiny bit. So I will be going through the whole fuse box and cleaning it up and then putting contact grease on it. So on to the next issue, which we couldn't solve last time, was the blower motor. Now, since then I've had some diagrams, and I can see that it's on the car with AC, it's quite a bit more complicated than a car without. So I'm going to go through some diagrams now, work out where the feed should be coming from, and work our way back to that again. So back into the AC and the blower motor. I've dug through some diagrams that's kindly sent on Capri World, and what I've worked out is that the main red feed here to what should be the blower motor and all the AC control bits goes back into the file, somewhere changes to a red, yellow and black conductor, which then goes off to the AC relay. Now this turns out the relay we found in the first episode was burnt out in the engine bay is actually the AC relay. I know I bypassed this in the previous episode and it caused backfeed into the ignition, but obviously when it's wired up as an actual relay that shouldn't happen, theoretically anyway. So, I know we had last time 12 volt here on this red, somehow, but it was a, again, high resistance connection. Now, if we try it out, we've got actual power. So, that could be a great sign. So, if we plug this back in a minute properly, and we'll see if we've got a blower motor. If not, we'll have to investigate the resistors and such. So, let's just see, it's turned off. So these connections don't get burnt or anything, so it should be good. Just a bit old and dirty. Tight as hell though. Ah! Excellent. So we got some kind of blower motor. Anyway. Perfect. So that's another thing investigated, so we'll get a proper relay put on there soon. It's going to be quite a beefy one for that, and we'll see where we go from there on. As you can maybe see from the video, behind this dash up here there is a lot of vacuum and such. That's one of my next tasks. I think we're going to replace all the vacuum lines to be sure that there is no leaks and it's all sealed. Because I know when I start the engine, there's a hissing from behind it to start with, so one of many vacuum issues we've got in this car. So I'll best check the AC clutch setup is working, and then that can be all cleaned up and put I can't put, no. It needs to be cleaned up for now. A bit more success, which is great. What I've done is, if you remember that AC relay, well, the relay I picked up in the engine bay on the first video that was melted, turned out that's the AC relay. And this is the remains of the base for it. So I don't know how much you can see of that, but it's absolutely screwed. Completely and utterly screwed. The ground has been massively melted and the base is just... yeah. Not great. So I've re-terminated the cables, put a new relay on it, and that now works spot on. We've got the blower, only when ignition's on. Perfect. Turns out the AC relay literally just takes a switch live from the ignition and then uses it to feed the blower motor. So it's more of an ignition relay for the heater blower really in the... yeah. So that's good. That's sorted. I've also now noticed that we do have return the park lights on. The map light works, and we have got our lighting on the switches. The dimmer is pretty screwed, as they are on most cars this age. And we've also got no lighting on the instrument cluster as well. So, none I can see anyway, so that's another thing that's got to be looked at. But, we're making progress. We've got a load of things working already. So, next thing I thought I'd try is the AC clutch. So, I've just disconnected the AC clutch, hooked it up, or put it on battery, and the clutch kicks in out perfect. Great. But, I've hooked that test lamp up to the supply for the AC clutch, turned it on, or turn the blower motor on, and realised the AC clutch is on permanently, or the supply is for it. So, what we need to do now is work out why. So I've triple checked the diagram to make sure there's no reason for this, and there isn't. Back here in the sort of control area for all the aircon and the heating and such. Oh god. Oh, it stays there. We've got the AC clutch cable comes off of the blower switch, so when it's going to be engaged, and then it goes through a little contact which should only engage when it's on max or fresh on the AC settings. It shouldn't be on, of course, on the off or the high-low heat and all that setting. But it's on permanently. So now we've got to work out as to why this switch isn't being engaged, or if the switch is just broken. And can't see any obvious reason straight up for it. So I think we'll have to do a quick bit of digging in a minute again. Quite an easy find. I've just pulled the unit out more to have a look underneath it, and I'll show you a bit more detail in a minute from the phone. But what I can see here is you've got the actual mechanism that moves back and forth there. Now that should sit in this little hole here, little can, and that unit rotating there flicks the micro switch to engage the AC. So it'll only engage at the furthest point, which is the last two settings for aircon. But it slipped out, so we'll pop that back in and that'll be that solved as well. I'm liking these easy fixes. So if you happen to have enjoyed the fault finding, and if the footage happens to be any better quality, now I've got some lights and I've tried some different settings on a GoPro for this episode, so I'll know when I come to edit it if it's any good. If it was terrible, I'm sorry. If it's better, then we'll stick with this way and try and get some better footage, because I know it's not been great. Yeah, if you've enjoyed the content and maybe talked something, maybe drop me a comment, tell me what you think. Like the video, certainly share the video if you want to, and subscribe for the next episode. And until then, I'll see you next time.